Yesterday, Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff of Georgia delivered a fiery speech attacking the Trump administration for being out of touch with the needs of everyday Americans.
Now, you remember we were told that MAGA was for working class Americans. You remember that? But this is a government of, by, and for the ultra-rich. It is the wealthiest cabinet ever. This is the Epstein class ruling our country. They are the elites they pretend to hate.
As the only Senate Democrat up for re-election this year in a state Trump won in 2024, Ossoff is supposedly seen as the most vulnerable Democratic incumbent in this year's midterms. But as the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reports, Ossoff is seizing the offensive and causing senior Democratic leaders and even influential Republicans to see a race that's tilting in his favor. It comes as we are less than 9 months until this year's midterm elections, and the outlook is not looking good for Republicans. That's an understatement. That assessment is not coming from the Democrats, but the Republicans themselves. In fact, according to Axios, private polling has top Republicans not only worried about losing the House, where they hold a very slim majority, but they're increasingly worried they could lose control of the Senate as well. And Axios also reports that top GOP strategists acknowledge that immigration and the economy, the two issues that drove Trump's win in 2024, are now political liabilities. Eugene Robinson is back with us, and also joining us now, Stuart Stevens, senior advisor at the Lincoln Project and author of It Was All a Lie, How the Republican Party Became Donald Trump. Eugene, we're going to get to you in a minute, but Stuart, I want to start with you so we don't forget about you on the other side there. But let's talk about Georgia. It seems to be a bellwether for what's going on right now in this country. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene's deep red district of Rome, Georgia, has Republicans concerned that it's going to flip to a Democrat. You had Greg Bluestein report this week that with 21 candidates on the ballot, Republicans worry a divided field could give Democrats an opening in a deep red Georgia district. What are you hearing about Georgia, and what does this say to you about Trump's success in the first 2 years of his administration?
Yeah, you know, the recent Georgia political history, I think, has been some of the most fascinating in the American political history. You had two Democrat senators who were elected on January 5th, 2021, which, I mean, as a Republican who worked in the South for many years in Senate races, governor's races, to have two Democrat senators elected on the same day from Georgia, it's like winning the World Series with 4 perfect games. I mean, it just is extraordinary that it would happen. So why did it happen? One of the major factors was the fact that the Republican Party was divided. You had Donald Trump, who was still, you know, in this frenzy that somehow elections don't matter because I didn't win. So he was out there sending a signal and sometimes saying directly to Republicans, don't bother voting, it's all rigged. Which, you know, if you're on the other side, you're like, I'm good with that. Maybe he's right. Don't bother voting. And you're having the same thing now with Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I take some amusement in, is going around saying that MAGA was all a lie. And that splits the base. And there's nothing about the Republican Party at the moment that draws you to it. I mean, in politics, you need a good messenger or a good message. And who are the messengers? You know, Stephen Miller, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem. These are just very unlikable people that you would not put out there to attract new voters. And what is the message? It's just an absolute mess. And these Republican candidates know this. And the normal way to correct from this is to admit there was a mistake. We're going to do better. Give me another chance. But in Trump world, you can't say that. So they're sort of boxed in by their own president that limits their potential political moves.
Because the messenger is often just Donald Trump himself, right? Like one of the issues with the Republican Party is that they fear getting ahead of him at all times. And then when he supports you, his support is contingent on you doing exactly what he says. Yeah. And the support is rarely, if ever, monetary. So it's just a tweet. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? It's a social post that he loves you, vote for him, and then he backs off. And what's interesting about all of this is that people in the White House, basically everybody but Donald Trump are worried, very worried publicly. Joe Gruthers, he is the Trump handpicked RNC chair. He predicted doom in December 12, 2025. This is what he said in the Bulwark. It's not a secret. There's no sugarcoating it. It's a pending, looming disaster heading our way. We are facing almost certain defeat. The chances of Republicans will go down and will go down hard. You hit the nail on the head. This is an absolute disaster. No matter what party is in power, they usually get crushed in the midterms. Now, Mr. Robinson, there's something called expectation setting in American politics, but this seems a little bit further than that.
That's really going far to sort of lower the expectations. Look, I think Stewart is absolutely right. It was astounding that two Democrats could be elected senator in Georgia, and there were these circumstances. The Republican Party was a mess. The Republican Party is still a mess at that level in terms of Trump and everybody else, and they have conflicting interests and push and pull. The other factor in Georgia is that the two Democratic senators, Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, are really good.
Very talented.
Really talented public officials and politicians. That speech that Ossoff gave that we showed the clip of was really a good speech.
Gotten better and better on the stuff.
Objectively, if you sort of listen to him, and it got a real response. They know their state and they're responding to it well. So yeah, Ossoff could get reelected, as Warnock did, by the way. Warnock got reelected.
That man ran many times in that to get the seat in Georgia.
Stuart, when I think about, I've been thinking that the 2026 election, midterm elections, there's so many parallels to the 2006 midterm elections. The narratives are basically the same. In 2006, I remember the narrative was Democrats are going to retake the House. The Senate is impossible because the map is really bad. As we got closer and closer to the midterm elections in 2006, the narrative started to change. They're like, yeah, Democrats are going to retake the House, but I don't know. They stand a chance of winning the Senate. And we're hearing that now in 2026. In fact, Democrats would need to pick up 4 seats to win the majority. And just given what this RNC guy had to say, they're feeling the same thing. And I bring this up, and I went back and looked. In 2006, the terrain for Democrats was even tougher than it is now. And Democrats picked up, they had a net gain of 6 seats. Is it impossible for Democrats to retake the Senate in 2026?
No, it's not impossible. And Jonathan, I was out there working for Republicans in 2006, so thanks very much for bringing back this PTSD experience.
I'm here to help.
It's very similar. The real numbers to look at here are the independents. I mean, if I was working in these elections, I would take these MAGA voters and I would just throw them out of the poll, because all they do is they confuse you and pollute the sample, because there's nothing they can do that's going to change that. So look at independents. And we talk about how we need a third party in America. We really do have a third party, and they're called independents. So right now, Donald Trump is just getting killed with independents. And that is a huge, huge problem. And, one of the sort of subset stories that's going to develop, I think, in Georgia is Hispanic voters. Because it was Hispanic voters, when Georgia wins, or goes Democratic, Hispanic voters are voting Democratic in high numbers. And I don't think there's anything about, a bunch of masked men, heavily armed, chasing brown people around the country that is going to make Hispanics more want to vote Republican.